One Piece chapter 964. Now this was a very interesting chapter as it gave us more characterization for Oden, more about his personality, which was amazing. I think Oden has been amazing so far. It really feels like he could be the protagonist as he shares a lot of similarities to Luffy, and there's a lot of appeal to his character that I think a lot of people like. We also get to see how his connection to Whitebeard came to be and how it all ties back to characters like Inu and Neko who got on Whitebeard's ship, as well as Izo, since we know that he eventually becomes one of Whitebeard's official commanders. I thought the pacing was really good, but we're getting things really quickly because at the end of this chapter we get to see a young Roger, which may be a signal that this flashback may be coming to an end very soon, assuming that the flashback ends when Orochi kills Oden or during that time period. But it might be a case where Oda focuses more on Oden and Roger's journey and this flashback more so than anything else, because this was something that the editors and the higher ups at Toei said during an interview, so that might be the main focus here. But I'd probably say we have about 5 to 10 chapters before we return back to Wano, just going off of the pacing of the events. Again, this is something that I think will be expanded upon more in the anime because they have the leeway for that, because more of this stuff could be fleshed out better in the anime, even though I'm enjoying how things are going in the manga so far. I think how the Scabbards were recruited is something that the anime will definitely expand upon, which may get us to like them even more than we do right now. But nonetheless, this was a very enjoyable chapter. Again, seeing these characters from the old generation like Roger and Whitebeard was definitely something of the making. You know, Prime Whitebeard has been a thing in the community for the longest, ever since Marineford. We've always wondered how these characters were back in their prime days, and seeing it actually realized in the story is definitely a new experience, and hopefully you get to see more things like this. But let's get into this chapter. Now the chapter starts off with Oden having a conversation with Whitebeard on how he wanted to join the crew and have an adventure, and here he actually states that he tried, but given that he has no navigator and zero skills when it comes to sailing, it was impossible for him to leave, and so going with Whitebeard was his best option. Now interestingly, Whitebeard notes that Oden is not the type of person that would be content going under someone else, which shows that Whitebeard recognizes Oden as someone with the qualities of a king. Again, this really goes back to the rocks and how badly crews like that functioned, and it even goes all the way back to Kaido when he stated that he doesn't want too many conquerors on his crew. Again, this really comes to show why having multiple individuals with conquerors haki in the same crew can be bad, as Whitebeard himself is having flashbacks about it, which made him think twice about letting Oden in, given as he doesn't want something like the rocks to happen again. Now eventually Whitebeard leaves Wano, but given Oden's resolve to sail the seas, he tries to get on board as they were sailing away. Izo, being suspicious about Oden, knew what he was about to do and tries to stop Oden, which leads both of them being dragged by the ship. Now here, Whitebeard takes an interest in Izo and tells Marco to drag him in, and I think this is probably where his connection with Whitebeard started, which leads up to him staying on Whitebeard's ship long after Oden left, and him being one of his commanders later down the road, which is very interesting for him to have made that change even though he was very loyal to Oden. I also feel like Izo might return to Wano once again just because of the connection he has there, and also given the nature of the battle that's going to take place. Luffy is going to need help, especially now that Kaido and Big Mom have joined hands. I wouldn't be surprised if Marco was to return with Izo to Wano to avenge Oden. At least there's some incentive for him to come. I also feel like Oden's death could be something he probably feels bitter about, so Wano could be that time for him to reappear. Now Whitebeard reiterates on why he thinks Oden could be dangerous for his crew, but will allow him to join him on the one condition that he's able to survive being dragged by the ship for 3 days. Oden, being the wild individual that he is, accepted. And here we see that Oden is getting ravaged by the weather, waves, and fishes for 3 days, which shows how badly he wanted to sail the seas. It honestly gave me the same vibe when, you know, Luffy climbed the frozen mountain to save Nami back in Drum Island. I get that same vibe with Oden here. They're so similar in that aspect, and I think this is one of the reasons that Whitebeard accepted Luffy in Marineford so quickly, because perhaps he was reminded of Oden. Now just before Oden was about to complete the challenge given to him by Whitebeard, he decided to save Toki, who has been attacked in an island nearby. Now interestingly, Toki states that she wants to go to Wano, and it was also confirmed that Toki is indeed someone who came from the Void Century, given that she was born 800 years ago. Now this was kind of hinted ever since her introduction, and with her having the time fruit, it was all possible. This was something that a lot of people thought about, so we might get some really deep lore here, because I assume that Toki knows a lot given that she's from that time period, and she also has an attire that seems to be from Wano, and as well as it having crescent shaped designs on them, which resembles that of the crest of the Kozuki clan. So this is very interesting. Perhaps she was sent on a mission in order to achieve something. Now going back to Whitebeard here, he chooses to let Oden join his crew because of his actions, and here we see that Inu and Neko actually got on board as well, which is very reminiscent of what Kara did when the Straw Hats left Zoe. We also get this amazing montage of his adventure, Oden's adventure with Whitebeard. Again, I think this is something that would probably get expanded upon more in the anime when we get to that point, because I don't think Oda can show everything in this flashback, as we don't want to stay in it for too long, mainly just because of what's happening in the current storyline. And we finally end up the chapter with a young Roger who looks very similar to Ace. I thought it was Ace, or I saw the similarities to Ace there, and we see here that he also takes an interest in Oden after hearing about him in the newspaper. And I think the next chapter is where we see Oden's transition to Roger's crew, which I think will be the bigger highlight of this flashback. But overall, this was a really good chapter, a lot of progression. The next chapter, we're probably going to see another time skip, maybe 3 years, and we get to see Roger's adventure with Oden. Again, seeing a lot of these characters from the old generation definitely makes this chapter one of the more memorable ones. But comment down below what you guys think, like the video if you liked it, and subscribe for more One Piece content on this channel. And this is Vero, and I will see you folks later. Peace.